Not supposed to turn like that. I'll use the gas station to avoid a traffic light. People are so stupid. I don't understand that. Oh.
I have about 6 of the 8 shows in the can by sometime next week, and so that'll be fun. It'd be fun to start working on the second limited run too. I don't know which one I'm going to do quite yet, but if you want just a sample of what that's going to sound like, this is the intro for Vaudeville for the Frightened that will debut coming up in just a few weeks on the Paranormal Podcast Network, affiliated with Coast to Coast AM. Roll it, Michael.
Superstition, fear, and jealousy. Superstition, fear, and jealousy. KOKW calling. I'm on the international frequency. Come in.
Tell me what you eat and I'll tell you what you are.
It's a time when eating is a pleasure. Madison Street, 31st Avenue. 11 kids.
Do you indeed think that there is life on other planets?
Stop. This would be more effective at midnight, howling winds and crashing thunder, and even then it wouldn't frighten anyone. May the flames cleanse my soul of its evil, of its lust for blood.
5 seconds, Mr. Weigel. Cue announcer.
Welcome to Ian Bonnett's Vaudeville for the Frightened. A fresh mix of audio art, music, interviews, and fiction that will have you wondering, what is there to be afraid of? Here's the Deacon of the Dark, Ian Bonnet.
As you can tell, I just like creepy noises. That made a great intro. Had a good time with that. Thank you, Jacob Cummings, for your help on that. Also to Colby Van Camp, who helped me with the actual production of the scoring. Each one of these is scored professionally, which is cool. And the intro piece, which was written by Pistol Beauty, particularly Andrew Clark, and to Ryan Winters, who was the one that hooked me up with Andrew Clark, who is the composer, and Ed Weigel, my bud, who is in Florida, and my go-to guy on anything we need that needs announcing. So there you go. That's just a sample, and then we'll go from there. We'll let you know when we get a little bit closer, when the whole series is done. I hope you'll enjoy it. You'll find out more coming up in the weeks ahead. And we'll wrap up our time with Dr. Bethan Jones. The new book is all about the X-Files, which, you know, we should all be so lucky to have a hit like the X-Files. The X-Files, the truth is still out there. 30 years of the X-Files. It's a look at the fandom of the show, the cultural impact of the show, and we'll get back to that next on Coast to Coast AM. This is Ian Punnett.
If you have your cell phone handy close by, we need your help. We're going to ask you to send a text message. Tom's going to give you the number to send it to and what to send in a moment. Let me tell you why. You might have heard that some car dealerships, car makers, are thinking of taking AM radio out of cars. It's crazy. More than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio for their news, traffic, weather, sports, and a community connection. It's also the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping all of us safe during dangerous times. So it's critical that we keep AM radio in cars, because when cell and internet services go down, this is free service that could be your only lifeline. Tom, what do people do with their cell phones right now?
George, you are so right. This is such a serious issue. So all we're asking you to do is text the letters AM to 52886. Let me say that again. Text the letters AM to 52886, and this will tell Congress that we really need AM radio to stay in cars. So you can help us out. Text the letters AM to 52886.
I need all of you to do this. We'll be talking about it over the next few weeks, but just do this for us as a favor. Text the word AM to 52886, if you would. When banks fail, when bonds are devalued, and the stock market is in turmoil, you'll be glad you own gold. Something you can hold physically in your safe at your house, and now you can also hold it in a retirement account. In fact, if you have an old IRA or 401k that's tied to a risky stock market, you can roll that over without spending an additional penny to a physical IRA in precious metals. And Birch Gold can help you own physical gold in a tax-sheltered account. I've known Birch Gold for a long time. They've been on the show several times. Just text the word COAST to 989898 and get a free info kit on gold. There's no obligation to educate yourself on how to diversify in this highly volatile market. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, thousands of happy customers, and countless 5-star reviews, you can trust Birch Gold to give you honest advice in protecting your savings with gold. Text COAST to 989898 and find peace of mind in gold.
Real people, real stories.
I coughed, and I coughed until I choked 24 hours a day. I couldn't even walk across my floor without literally coughing until I was gasped. So I saw 3 different pulmonologists, and they could do nothing. Someone had mentioned to me about a product that President Reagan had taken. I ordered it within 1 week. 1 week. My coughing had stopped since I've taken the carnivore. Everyone that would come into our store would say, "What happened? Why are you not coughing?" I told them what I'm doing, and he said, "Well, what's it doing to stop that coughing?" I said, "I can't answer that. It just stopped it."
Call 866-836-8735. That's 866-836-8735. Or visit carnivore.com. That's carnivora.com.
KFI AM 640.
You can link up to Dr. Bethan Jones's book, The X-Files, The Truth is Still Out There, at coasttocoastam.com. I want to read another part of your description of this, which I like so much. Ready? Combining horror, science fiction, drama, crime, and comedy. I'm so glad that you mentioned that about The X-Files, because it could be very funny. And it was organic humor. It wasn't corny. It was funny.
Yeah.
That's rare.
Gary Morgan wrote a couple of the best comedy episodes of the show, including Jose Chung's from Outer Space in season 3, which is consistently in my top 5.
Really? Oh, cool. Which one was that? Tell me again.
So that's the one where there is a writer called Jose Chung who is investigating some events that happened in Trask County, and it's got Lord Kinbolt, who is this almost stop motion type creature in the opening credits. There's a cigarette smoking alien. There's a it's just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. So I would say I was friendly with the one of the X-Files. The Jose Chung, right? That was Charles Nelson Riley. He and I were friendly. I'd interviewed him, and he was really he sent me. It was the funniest thing. He sent me a brooch. I'll explain it to you sometime. It's one of my most valued possessions, because Charles Nelson Riley was this he was kind of a strange actor in America. It was always sort of mostly game shows and that sort of stuff. And then this is one of the best episodes, one of the funny ones too. So let's talk about. So I like how you said Monster of the Week, right? Because it did have that vibe to it, which was cool. And that harkened back to another series that had run in the United States for a long time called Kolchak the Night Stalker. And it was about a reporter, right? It was kind of a Monster of the Week thing too. But what are the best British conspiracies? What are the British equivalents of some of the American stories that were featured in the X-Files?
Good question. I mean, there's a couple around sort of UFO sightings. There's sort of a famous Welsh one, which took place up in North Wales, I think in the sort of 60s or 70s. And there's, I can't remember the name of it. I'm not even going to guess because I'm going to get it wrong. There's another one that sort of is over in, I think, the east of England, around nearby, unsurprisingly, sort of an RAF, Royal Air Force Base, which again kind of links into this idea of, sort of Area 51 and is the military using, extraterrestrial technology. So those are a couple sort of off the top of my head. There's, in terms of Monster of the Week, there's things like, the Beast of Bodmin Moor, which is, this sort of large cat-like creature that gets seen on a moor in Cornwall. Yeah, those are sort of a couple off the top of my head that I can think of.
Well, I like that. And so how much press do they get, and is there ever been an X-Files like series in the UK?
Not that I can think of. There was a writer called Nick Pope who kind of styles himself as sort of the British Mulder, for want of a better word. He wrote a book about the Ministry of Defence and sort of UFOs and extraterrestrials. So he was sort of pegged as like the British version of the X-Files for a while back in the 90s. So there was a lot of kind of newspaper articles about him. But that was more sort of real life rather than fiction. Off the top of my head, I can't think really of any TV shows that would be the equivalent. I mean, we've got things like Doctor Who and Torchwood, but they sort of stand slightly outside the X-Files, I'd say.
Sure they do, yeah. But I just wonder, because, I watch a lot of British television, probably not a lot of, but I watch maybe more than the average person does. I really liked the Corman Strike novels that were brought, the ones from J.K. Rowling, which I know is controversial, but I really like the character. And I think he was Welsh, wasn't he? Wasn't he from Cornwall for some reason? But the
not bad done.
Oh no, and then the TV series was really good. And they sort of condensed the 6 books into 4 TV series, but they were great. But the Hinterland was done in Wales, right? I think it was. Yeah,
it was done sort of up in Aberystwyth and Mid Wales.
So how did as a professor studying fandom, how do things become popular? How do things catch fire, like things like the X-Files? Why did that one do so well in England, whereas other things kind of came and went?
If I knew the answer to that, I would be very rich.
Yeah.
I think part of it is it's luck. It's being in the right place at the right time and picking up on something that's in the zeitgeist that kind of people can relate to. And I think the X-Files did that really, really well, just by virtue of the time when it came out. There's some things that you think, you read the script, you think this is going to be brilliant, it's going to get picked up, it's going to do really, really well, and it can fall flat. And other things just come completely out of left field, and you think there's no way on earth this is going to get a following, but it does, and it goes really, really well. Part of it is luck, part of it is being able to tap into that cultural consciousness. But yeah, it's so difficult to tell how something is going to be received and how well it's going to do until it comes out.
And so you study fandom, and you study how it is that some things, or grow these big audience bases, and people kind of create their own culture around it, right?
Yeah.
If you were, I don't know whether this is even a relevant question, but what are the characteristics of a big fan base? What do you see as common among shows or products that have created a large fandom?
It's so really difficult. I think it's all off the top of my head. We've got Doctor Who, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, The X-Files.
Right.
Quite varied text. I guess one of the things that they all have in common with text themselves are that they are science fiction fantasy.
Right.
So there's an element there of being able to tap into something that is maybe not of this world, and I think that triggers imagination. It gives you something that you can kind of get your teeth into, and you can sort of imagine yourself in that space. What would it be like if I lived in Westeros?
Right.
What would it be like if they really want targets and you could go into a different world? So there's that element of engagement with the ideas that you get within the shows and the books themselves. But I think the themes as well, and taking a Doctor Who, there's a theme of kind of hope and optimism in that you can connect to as a member of the audience. And Harry Potter, as you sort of mentioned, J.K. Rowling, is quite controversial, but if we look at the texts themselves, there was a lot in there that young people could really connect with, particularly queer young people. You can see Harry Potter as being in the closet, quite literally, metaphorically. So there's something within the text that speaks to people, and it speaks to a lot of people, and then you get this fandom, this community coming out of that, and then meeting each other and going on to do, in some ways, really big and better things.
Yeah, I think it's that world creation, the idea that, and they create a world, but there's space for more people to jump in and create another 8 feet in that world.
Yes.
Right? I mean, they own that 8 feet, and they own that, this is their acre, or this is their, and so I think that helps. I think that certainly was the story of the Star Trek series.
Yeah.
And all of the permutations of that.
Yeah. And obviously, like, that was when into the counseling with Star Trek, that took on this huge letter, to keep the series going, and it's still going now, which is amazing.
Yeah, I think there's also kind of an edginess to, like, all of the shows you mentioned. They weren't necessarily predicted as being big TV hits, and then they were, because I think some of them they were further out on the edge than the critics realized the public wanted to go. And when it went there, go ahead.
I was going to say, with Fox, the X-Files was designed to be a cult hit. When it was sort of brought on by the network, they didn't think it was going to be as big as it got.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And so I think there also, it makes me want to, I can't because I'm kind of part of it, but I'd like to study the fandom of Coast to Coast. Because, a lot of shows run their course after 5 or 6 years, and then the fandom perpetuates it. But in a lot of ways, this symbiosis between the fans, the affiliates, the producers, the content makers, the guests, it's also 30 years in running, as long as, there's been the X-Files a little bit longer.
Yeah, and it's no good. I know you're within the production house, but there's no reason why you couldn't do that study.
That would be biased. We all know